Right, brand new game. I go ahead and clear my save. Click new game. Should pop into the world here. Tutorial pops up on the screen. You could get to these by going to the tutorial button. This is some generic information like how to move the UI, how to exit the game, can't general hotkeys and clicking and such. And I'll just kind of explain it as I go. So you move with WASD and Q and E strafes. Right click rotates the screen around here. Left click is pretty much your interact button. Space jumps, space for double jump. Just gonna run up this hill here, and then more tutorials will pop up. This one is about how to pick up resources. So in this game, you could find these on the map. You can either click them or hit U, and when you pick them up, they go on your back here. You can see the backpack, and the goal is to return these to your town, which we just happen to already be in town. So go ahead and bring them over to the vault. And while you're wearing these resources, you can see in the UI at the top here, it'll tell you that you're carrying 1 wood and 1 gold. And they're not safe until you put them in the vault. So if you were to die, they'll drop on the floor, and you could selectively decide to drop them on the floor here by fleeing from combat, and that'll go ahead and drop them on the floor. And you can pick them back up again, but while they're not being carried, you actually get all your endurance back here. So you're no longer carrying that weight, and your endurance can be used for things like doing acrobatic jumps and melee attacks. So while your corpse is on the floor there, you will see on your calendar here that your corpse will decay at a certain time, and time doesn't advance unless you're moving. So as you run, this little sun's going to move across the world. If you stand still, time effectively doesn't count down anymore. So it's all about how far you run. So if you just go over here and pick this corpse back up off the floor, you'll see that your endurance will get decreased down to 4, because each resource weighs you down. And you can see here that you're encumbered. So the idea is to bring these resources back to town and deposit them here at the bank. So you'll see a bunch of different tutorials keep popping up. I'll kind of go over them as I go, but in general, this one is just improve your town. If you upgrade your building with the required amount of resources and quest requirements, you'll get a perk from the city. Each building in town has a different line of perks. The bank gives different upgrades than the mage trainer, and you'll get a different look to the building as well. Sometimes you have quest requirements in addition to the resources, but so if you click on this guy here, you'll see that I'm currently holding 1 wood and a gold, and in order to upgrade this building, it requires quite a bit of resources, so we'll just go ahead and deposit these for now. And when you deposit them, they're no longer on your back, and they're now safely in the vault, and you can spend them in town. So this one, for example, we don't have the required resources, but once we do, we'll be able to do this upgrade, and this will actually unlock a store, and then also reward you with this gem item, which comes with its own perks and stats. And if I open up the inventory here, which is just you'll see that there's a whole set of basically upgrades associated with the town. So these are the primary 4 buildings in town, and as you upgrade them, you're basically powering up your character and getting other unique perks at each of the buildings. So if you wanted to ever check to see kind of like what it costs to upgrade, obviously you could run over and just click on the guy, it'll tell you. But there's also a little user interface thing here called Town, which will just show you the 4 different primary buildings and then what resources or quests they require before you could upgrade them. So let's just go ahead and run over here, and right now we have no abilities except for the ability to like jump and such. So we got to go ahead and buy some abilities. So heading over towards this mage trainer, you'll see I just picked up 20 coins. Those are in the user interface up here. I go ahead and click on this treasure chest. I've now just looted a one-time use teleport back home, which you could use by clicking on it and clicking activate. We could use that later. So just keeping over this way towards the mage trainer, you'll see a ton of information about how to memorize your spells on your hotkeys, and some information about what each one of these pieces of bar represents. So over here you've got your acrobatics, which are you don't click these. These are based on keyboard input. So for things like doing a backflip or a sideways dodge, or a double jump and a long jump, these are all hotkeys that are down here, and they use endurance. And you could use them as many times as you want. You just got to have the stamina. So to activate these, you basically hold shift, which is the sprint key. So if you just hold shift, you just run faster. And then your endurance will count down as you run. If you stop sprinting, your endurance will kind of fill back up really quickly. And then each one of these abilities is activated by holding sprint plus the direction. So if you hold sprint and hit to the right, you'll dodge right. If you hold sprint and hit backwards, you'll basically dodge backwards. And to do this long jump, you basically hold sprint and hit jump while you're in the air. So if you were to jump, you basically hit jump again, but while holding sprint, and then you'll do that. And you still have access to your double jump all the time, so you could always double jump. That doesn't actually require any endurance. So you can do things like jump, double jump, long jump, jump again, backflip, jump again, dodge, whatever you want to do to use your endurance. And each one of these kind of has a different perk as well. So like when you dodge, you could actually slow down time a little bit, and you could basically teleport through an enemy. So there is collision in this game. So if your enemy is standing in front of you, for instance, you'll get stuck on him. But if you dodge, you could go kind of slip past him. The air dash allows you to kind of travel at a really far distance, and that also allows you to jump again. So that's you could long jump, and then that allows you to basically trigger a whole nother series of jumps. And the backflip knocks back the enemies, and kind of clears some distance for you to maneuver. So going up here towards the mage trainer, you just click on him, and this is another building that you can upgrade once we get the required resources. And the building will feature kind of a different town perk associated with the specific building. So for instance, this one offers a bunch of mana and some other perks. And then when you upgrade this building, you actually will unlock higher rank spells. So right now you'll see that we just kind of access to these basic list of spells, and each time you upgrade this building, you'll get a whole nother selection of spells. So looking at the cost of the spells, we have $20, 20 platinum. Attacking costs nothing. This is your most basic ability that uses endurance. So I'm just going to put buy there, and then really up to the player what they want to get. I'll stick with something simple like a fireball and say a poison dot. Those are $10 a piece, so I can afford both of those. If you go ahead and hover over them, obviously you can kind of see a description of what they do. Also toggle on this spell detail window in case you want to make any comparisons, or you just want to be able to see what they are without hovering. So now that you can see that as the time advanced here, the sun is now moving and it's getting darker out. So there is a day-night cycle. And then at night, when this calendar rolls over, certain days, different enemies will spawn. But if I go to my spell book, which is just here, okay, you can kind of see represented all the ability buttons here, 1 through 4, and later on you can get more of these buttons. So if you were to go ahead and just click memorize on the first one here, you can go ahead and select any of your known abilities and drop them on your bar. Right now, the key bindings are not configurable, but you could, of course, just move them around. Like if you don't want melee to be 1, you could just swap that around. I'm going to go ahead and put melee back on 1, and then just memorize all 3 of my spells here. And again, you could kind of read what they do. Poison is basically a very, very long dot. It just, lasts 60 seconds. You poison the enemy and it'll just keep hurting them the whole time. So basically cast it once and forget about it. And then the comet here is it's actually a projectile. So you need a little bit of distance from the enemy to cast this one because it has a min range. You can't cast this when you're directly in front of the enemy. And then they could effectively dodge it if they're moving too quick. So, and then the attack melee is right now just, you swing your fists because we actually don't have a weapon at the moment. So we have no weapon equipped, so it'll just be like your melee damage. I know it looks like the character's holding a weapon, but that's not real at the moment, just there for graphics. So you'll see if I hit one, the character just swings the weapon, and you don't actually need a target because it'll just hit whoever's in front of you. And the other interesting thing you'll see is that you could cast it while running. All spells can be cast while running, but it just slows you down a little bit. So even something like, say, this fireball, you could see that I could cast it the whole time while running. So that's kind of interesting, unique gameplay mechanic there. If your casting is fun, you want to cancel it, you could just jump, and that'll go ahead and interrupt your casting. So at any point you just hit jump, that interrupts your casting. If you happen to already be in the air, you can still cast. And these guys here are just target dummies, so you could just attack these. And then obviously you'll see some of these tutorials are not fleshed out yet. But as you can see, the melee is basically AoE frontal cone type stuff. And the other thing you'll see here is on this damage text, you'll see that on this guy it's saying it's ineffective, and this guy over here it's hitting them pretty good, and that's because this guy is effectively level 1 and this guy is actually level 4. So you'll be able to tell pretty quick, if you're doing meaningful damage to these guys based on, their level, and then, how the damage text is being reported. So I'll get into the damage types here in a minute, but let me just run around here, take a look, see if there's anything else I want to pick up before I head out and start fighting. I think we're good, so we'll just leave town here. So there's a ton of stuff in town, different buildings, different upgrades, but just to get out and start fighting some stuff, I'm going to run out the front door here. This is just a pop-up reminder to open up the tutorial and read. So, this is the world here, and I'm changing my camera zoom with the mouse wheel. So you could play in first person if you'd like, or third person. And then there is actually one other camera view where if you just hit the middle mouse button, you've unlocked the camera. Probably not the best way to play the game, but it is kind of an interesting control scheme if you can get used to it, but it is good for just kind of looking around, maybe taking screenshots at the moment, and then hit middle mouse to lock that back in. So yeah, just looking around here, you can see there's a few different enemies roaming around in the distance there. There's some lizard people. Here in the front, there's some humanoids. They are on different factions, so if you kind of look at this target window, so we just got kind of proximity aggro there. And you can see now he wants to fight me, so I'm going to go ahead and poison him, and he's level 1. So hopefully we stand a good chance. And you'll see here that I'm just kind of spamming the attack button, but it won't go off because I don't have enough endurance. So you'll see that meter keeps refilling. So you could just either wait for that, or you could start casting some of these other abilities. So you'll see here that he still has the poison on that really lasts like 60 seconds. I'm going to finish him off with this fireball. That took him out. And then I went ahead and just looted his corpse there, and you'll see that he actually dropped a couple items, one of which was a ring, which is kind of used in crafting and things like that, and then the other one is just a flat coin, and your coins are basically the currency of the land. Everything that you buy is pretty much through platinum. So there's no experience. You don't get experience when you kill an enemy, but you do get a scaling amount of platinum based on their level. So we just took out that level 1 pretty inefficiently. So this time I'll probably start off by shooting maybe a fireball or something like that, rather than just letting it run up to me. But yeah, we'll grab this guy here. And the other thing to see is looking at their target window here, you can kind of get an idea of how strong they might be. So this guy is level 1, this is his name, that's the distance, 15, 14, 16 feet. There's the faction that he's on, and the fact that he is kill on sight. The other thing to note is kind of how much health he has. So, if you know that your fireball does say 60 damage, and somebody's got thousands of health, that's probably not ideal, but this guy is definitely within our capability. And then the other thing to note is these 4 bars here will kind of tell you the specific enemy's damage resistances. So not every enemy is going to be, say, weak to fire or weak to poison. If you go ahead and you click on different enemies, you'll see here they have different distributions. And the bigger the bar, the more damage you expect to do. So if I were to attack this lizard here with this yellow bar, which actually corresponds to decay, I'm basically going to do no damage. It's going to be very inefficient. So if I wanted to try to fight this guy, I'm probably better off using something like, say, Elemental, which is purple. So if I click on this guy, he's level 1. He's pretty generic. I could pretty much use anything to attack him. And then the other thing to note is the perimeter of this bar here is white, which kind of shows that he is going to attack me with physical attacks. And again, if I click on this guy here, you'll see that the perimeter is purple. So he's going to attack me with elemental effects. So, this can give you an idea of how much mitigation you might expect to have against a particular enemy. So, this guy's going to attack me with physical. My physical bar is pretty good. I'm probably going to be okay. If for instance, this guy over here was going to attack me with decay, my bar is tiny. I would expect to take quite a bit of damage from him. So, the bigger the bar, the better it is for me. This guy is probably pretty risky. This guy over here, I think I probably stand a pretty good chance, also based on this level. So if I go ahead and, the other thing is time is not advancing because I'm not really moving very much. So you'll see it's kind of just this time of day. But once I start fighting and moving further away from town, it's more going to keep advancing. And the majority of these enemies do not respawn, by the minute. They respawn after a full day. So nothing to worry about there. There are some enemies that will respawn quite a bit faster, but usually not located at these camps. So if I start off with a fireball here, you see there is a cooldown, so I'm just going to go ahead and back up a little bit, distance, and cast it again, because this ability actually has a mid-range distance. So you'll see here that when he's right in my face, I can't cast that fireball. But, I do have situational things, like I could do a backflip here, get a fireball off, I could do a dodge, I could do one of those long jumps, so it's really up to you how mobile you'd like to be. I could just finish him off here, wait for this poison to kind of take care of him. You'll see when they're low on health, they actually run away. So the poison's just going to take care of me. And occasionally they will also drop, mana or health or endurance, which you can go ahead and just take when they die. So kind of moving over here, you'll see there's this nice glowing orb. This is kind of a quest item for creating your pet. So right now that's called the spider egg. And it kind of gives you an idea that might be useful as a pet trainer. So I'm going to go ahead and just try and clear a little bit here. So let me see if I could just pull this guy, and I don't know what's going to happen with that other dude I might get to do. So now I kind of have to deal with both of these enemies at the same time. You see that this one guy is kind of a melee, so he kind of ran up to me and tried to punch me in the face, whereas the other one kind of just standing back and throwing stuff at me. So I'm going to try to go ahead and finish this guy off, and then I'll hunt down this other dude. And he's a different enemy type, so you'll see that he's throwing axes at me, which actually placed. And I can dodge those, so I'm going to go this time and make sure I use a dodge. And then, he's starting to actually heal, which is not great for me, so I'm going to go ahead and put that poison on him. And he was attempting to blind me there because I got him. He kind of has situational attacks depending on, your distance to him. So each of the enemies kind of have different AI programming. So I went ahead and finished him off there. You can see that he was actually really weak to Elemental, which is good because that was kind of one of the abilities that I have here on my bar. So even though he healed and had a bunch of different abilities, we managed to take him out. So he was level 1, so he still only gave me $1. But over here in the bush, you kind of see there's these are called artifacts, and this is another one of the resources that you can collect in the world, and it kind of shows up on your backpack here. One thing to note is there's this hotkeys button over here, and uh, right now these are not configurable, so just be aware that this is what they are, that's where they are. The reason I pointed it out is because I don't really have a great way of clearing my target, so I think it's N to clear my target. So, let's see, if for instance I wanted to click on a different enemy, I could change my target, but if I hit N, I can go ahead and clear my target, kind of stand at rest. So let me go ahead here. You can see that there's some more stuff to pick up, and you'll see that after I pick this up, I basically have no more endurance. So I'm carrying so much stuff right now that I can no longer backflip or dodge or use my melee attack. So I'm going to go ahead and just risk it here and keep picking some stuff up while I have no endurance anyway, and I have a pretty clear path back to home. So I'm just kind of like loading myself up. And you can see here a new day started, so it's actually Monday now. And I don't think any of the enemies that I killed on the way here respawn on Mondays. I think they're more like a Tuesday type thing. So I do have a clear path back to town still, and I'm super overweight, so getting into a fight right now would probably not be great, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep picking up more junk. So I'm getting nice and fat here. And I'm going to bring all this stuff back to camp with me. So let's just run back into town. And right over here is the vault, and you can kind of see again that +5, +5, +4, all this stuff. I'm going to drop it off in the bank here, keep it safe. I guess let me just show real quick. If I were to die, which we could easily go do. So we're going to go ahead and fight this guy. Oh, and like I said, I was trying to melee him, but I cannot. So I can't dodge, I can't do any of that stuff, so I can't even sprint. So getting away from these guys is going to be a challenge. But let me just go ahead and, take one for the team here. Oh, look at this, I got some lucky dodges in there. Misses, I might say. So let's see if these guys end up taking it. Go. And the reason I did that is I wanted to show what happens when you die here. You can respawn back at your bind point or town. Bind points are different graveyards that you'll find all across the world that if you go click on, you could choose to set that as your death location if you want, or you could always respawn back at town. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab town here. And you'll see that puts us right here in front of the inn, which is a really interesting place. So, if you wanted to go ahead and read the tutorial, you could learn a whole bunch of stuff about it, but just in general, you could actually sleep here. So you'll see that the time of day is whatever day it is, 17% of the day. And you can see where the sun is, and you'll see that my corpse is going to expire there. So if I go ahead and click on the inn guy, I could actually go ahead and sleep, but it will advance the time 3 hours. But with that, you'll get a perk, which will be +5 in your mastery and in endurance, which I think is worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you'll see that time went ahead and advanced. We now have quite a bit more endurance. We've got this buff that lasts 24 hours from resting, or if we die, we'll lose that buff. But you'll see here that we're now pretty close to losing our corpse. So let me go ahead and run and see if I can recover that corpse real quick. And you'll see here that's another indication of what the corpse has on it. So I'm just running out of town here. I don't know if I'll make it or not. Oh, there it is. So if I can go ahead and get to this corpse real quick, pick it back up. And it's not time-based, it is just distance-based. So, standing here is actually pretty safe, but I'm just going to go pick it up. And that was cool. So you'll see now, even though I had a ton of endurance there, I'm carrying so much stuff that I'm still over-encumbered. So I'm going to go ahead and safely return this back to town and dump it off at the vault. And then, you can kind of just go back into this town UI here and see that, okay, we're most of the way towards this mage guild, but, we're going to need crystal and a quest. The vault, we're going to need some more gold and crystal. And for the pet trainer husbandry here, we also need more crystal. So we're going to get out there and do some more exploring. But now that we have our rest at Buffalon were actually quite a bit stronger. And then the other thing is we got a spider egg here. So if I remember over here by the pet trainer, which I don't think we've spoken about yet. So here's another thing is there are plants and such that you could find in the wild. So right now I just went ahead and looted this king's bush, and things like this will respawn on certain days. They're not an everyday occurrence, but certain days of the week, different plants will respawn, and you can go ahead and collect those again. But now that we are over here at the pet trainer, a whole bunch of information about your pet. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab, just take a look at this quest board, and you'll see here that it says that if I were to give them 2 spider eggs, I can get a new pet ability, so that seems very much worth it. So let me go ahead and loot this other spider egg, go into my inventory, which now shows 2 spider eggs, which is exactly what we need to discuss. So doing that goes ahead and pops up the tutorial again about the spider, showing you where some of the spider icon is, and actually we went ahead and automatically completed this quest as well, which is to learn taunt for the pet. So we'll go ahead and do that as well. Now we have, if you read in your chat log here, you could look at different filters, so combat, system, or all, whatever have you, but you'll notice here that it says quest completed, check your spell book, quest completed, check your spell book. And if you miss some of those, you can go ahead and open up this Your Story UI, which is effectively just a running log of all of your quest completions. So that'll provide eventually some additional information. So now that we actually have those spells on our bar, the pet and the taunt, I'll show you in the spell book here. You could go ahead and forget them, memorize them, change them out when you get more spells, or just read the description on what they do. So you'll see that this pet taunt increases the aggro for the pet, and the summon the spider is, high mana cost, but you get a pet out of it. So go ahead and cast that spell, just so we can see what the spider looks like. And there he is. And you'll see over here that we actually have a little user interface for him. So this is the player, this is the time of day, and this is your pet. So just clicking on him, you can see that he's got a good amount of health, and he's got his own mastery stats as well. So if, for instance, you were to go into your inventory and look at your stat window, you'll see that you have your own stats and the pet has his own stats. This particular spider has a unique ability where he has his own innate life tap. So he'll do that, I guess, every 20 seconds or so. And then you could also see that he has physical-based attacks with a damage and cooldown, and his own stats here, which you can upgrade by giving him gear as well. So on the spell bar, you'll see that he's got one ability at the moment, Taunt, and this checkbox here will turn on and off the auto cast for that particular ability. So let's just go ahead and go collect some extra money by killing enemies, and we could go ahead and buy a new spell and show off some new abilities. So I think we're pretty strong now because we have our pet, which is going to help us a bunch. So I'm just going to go ahead and go explore. You'll see that this guy here, his faction, he's indifferent, he's not aggressive, but this guy over here is actually kill on sight. So depending on how you pull him, you could end up with both of these guys, and they are both level 2, so a little bit harder, but I'm just going to try it anyway. We'll just go ahead and shoot a fireball here on the hill, poison him, start casting another fireball, maybe a bunch of damage before you get to us. The other thing I could do is dodge away from them. You can see instead of using my endurance, for instance, use like a melee attack, which is effective. You can do damage to them, but it's also possible to use those endurance for situations or acrobatic type stuff. Like hopping around, avoiding combat. Especially since I cannot use my comet because I'm too close to him. So I'm gonna go ahead and spend some endurance to get away and hit him with that big old fireball, and then send my pet in to hopefully finish him off. and it looks like we did a pretty good job. So I'm just going to go ahead and loot all this money. We actually ended up getting all 3 of them. So now we have $10, which is actually enough to, maybe buy another low-level spell. So also here, there is crystals, and then, if you look in the ocean here, you might see some fish too. So we'll go ahead and go grab him. And then the other interesting thing about the water is enemies don't really follow you into the water, but the penalty for being in the water is you actually are wet here, you start taking damage, and when you leave the water, you're actually temporarily fatigued, which is going to restrict your ability to use combat abilities. So, hiding from enemies in the water is probably not a good idea. So this guy here is a new type of enemy, and you'll see we are encumbered because we're holding this backpack. So I can go ahead and just drop that on the floor and recover some of my endurance here. But just remember that if I wait too long, that bag will actually disappear. So looking at this guy up here, I could kind of take a look at his mastery and see that I really only have a comet and a poison. And comets are not going to be very effective because these are elemental, and he has a small elemental bar here, so they won't be very effective, but it's all I got. But the poison is going to be very effective, and then my pet, which also has poison, is going to be very effective. So, and he's only level 1, so I think I got him. So I'm just going to go ahead and send in my pet, shoot a fireball. You'll see that it says weak. Go ahead and put my poison on. My pet went ahead and taunted him, which is super cool. And now I'm just going to go ahead and smack him back here until he dies. And you see that we went ahead and got him. So these guys are only level 1. Everybody's pretty weak. The other thing on the calendar here, you'll see that the well-rested buff is shown kind of here at the end because it lasts 24 hours. So it'll actually roll over into the next day. But the further and further I get away from this corpse, the more likely it will decay. So I'll just leave it there for a second. We'll just kind of flirt with the idea that maybe we go too far. If I pick this up here, there'll be items all over the world here. This one was a mastery scroll. This is a way to improve your character's mastery power. So you'll see right now we're 25, 25, 35, 25. These are the current mastery levels that we have. And if we go ahead and bring this to the correct location, we can go ahead and choose to enhance one of these masteries. And there's a number of these scrolls found all over the map. So let's go ahead. You'll see here there's a mage and an archer. I'll go ahead and just start by trying to kill the mage, I guess. Let's see. Send in my pet. Hit him with that thing. It was super effective. Knocking him out pretty quick, and then just maybe dodging some of these axes that the guy on the roof there is firing at me. And you'll see there that projectile actually missed. So this archer up here, he's got the high ground. He's got no motivation to kind of come down here and tangle with me. But I can go ahead and go up there with him and, come off. And the other thing is all your melee attacks have a little bit of a knockback in them, so that was actually kind of cool. But you'll see that my melee is really ineffective. The bar is basically 0, but my pet just creamed him, so no worries there. He was actually pretty weak to soul and decay, and that's what my pet was doing to him. And those archers don't have very much health to begin with. So I guess we will go ahead and loot that money and then kind of just recover some of this stuff here before packing up our stuff and trying to bring it back home. So we'll grab this, we'll grab this, and you can kind of see different camps around with different kind of enemy combinations. And they will get harder. Right now we're kind of just in the beginning here, fighting a bunch of level 1s and such, but the deeper you go, the further you get away from town, the more difficult these enemies will get. So looking over here, you can see that there's a bunch of other areas to explore. So let me go ahead and try to get my corpse here before it fades. Oh, crap. Okay, well, that wasn't too bad because I think the only thing I was carrying was this particular crystal. So let's go ahead and grab both of those and run these back to town. Up, and let's actually try to get this one too while we're here. Even though we won't be able to dodge, he's still only a level 1. I'm pretty confident we can. And you'll see that he's totally very strong against decay. So even though I can poison him, like it's probably a waste of mana. Every time he takes those poison damage, it's like a link. So not super effective. But my pet should be able to finish him off, hopefully. And then it looks like we went ahead and got this other guy. So you'll see here this little combat window will show us everybody that we're currently in combat with. So we could easily click on their names in this window. Also kind of alert us if we're, pulling a bunch of enemies. So let's go ahead and repeat my pet. Loot all of his stuff. And then I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, I guess while we're here, there's always one more guy. Okay, so this guy's level 2. So we'll take him out. He is vulnerable to poison, but he went ahead and resisted. Wait, I always forget. Go stamina. Not effective with my melee. So down. Okay, good stuff. So we'll go ahead and grab these. These are some stones. I kind of want to go here and grab this too. It's an artifact. These are useful for upgrading the player. And you'll see a whole nother day just ticked over. It's actually Tuesday, so now you can kind of see when my rest buff is going to expire. So the interesting thing is, let's see, did the enemies respawn on Tuesday? I guess they did not. I guess they're going to respawn on Wednesday. So that was good for us. We don't have to fight a bunch of enemies on the way back to town, and we are loading up on all this loot. So we'll go ahead and grab all this stuff and with our heavy backpack, bring it back to town. And you can see up in the user interface here how much stuff I'm returning to town, which is a ton. So we should be able to do some building upgrades here. So let's hit deposit resources, and then just take a quick look at our little user interface here. And you'll see, darn, we actually need more gold to upgrade the vault. And then some of these other ones, we have quest requirements before we could upgrade them. So we kind of have to go out and start doing some quests as well. So for now, I think what we'll do is we have these artifacts that we just turned in as well. And those are actually used to improve your character. So right now we have 200 health, 250 health, 300 mana. And at the moment, there's this artifact quest guy here. So hang on, let's go ahead and grab this artifact as well. And all of this stuff is preliminary, but the idea would be that you would play something like this. So right now we just have 2 upgrades for these artifacts. And actually, I didn't deposit them. They're still on my back. So I only have 8 at the moment. But I can go ahead and get an HP buff here. And that costs 3. And another 3 for another HP buff. And then another 2 for an MP buff. And these are just permanent. So we just permanently increased our character. You'll see, I think it was, I don't know, maybe 5 health or something like that per turn in. So now that we did that, we can go ahead and deposit those as well. And we'll just take a look here and see how much we're getting. So we have, what are we going to turn in? We're going to turn in MP, and we have 305 at the moment coming in. And, oh no, sorry, we increased our HP, 260. 260. Did that work? I'm not actually sure. Maybe there was a bug there. I checked the video on that. Didn't seem like it went up. So going over here to the mage trainer, we now have $17, which should be enough to buy some new spells here. So we can go ahead and kind of decide if we want this throw dirt ability, binding coil, or maybe we save up for fear. Or we just go ahead and get this life tap. So, situationally, we might want to make a decision based on these damage types here. You'll see that we currently have a physical attack, a decay attack, an elemental attack. We don't yet have a soul-based attack. So, if we were to run into an enemy that was only weak to soul, we probably want to have this on our bar. So, just for now, I'm going to get one of each as a precaution. But later on, you'll be able to get more spell slots and refine your spell loadout as suits you best. And you can see here that it's almost that we're going to run out of our daytime or rested buff. So, maybe before we go out hunting again, we go ahead and take a quick nap. So if I go ahead and nap, you'll see here that we now have a full another 24 hours on our rested buff. And then looks like there's some nice stuff over here too. So I'll just go grab some of this stuff. And the one thing that we got there is actually super useful is that food. So if you go ahead and check your inventory here, we've actually been, I haven't noticed, we've been looting quite a few different things. So from different enemies, we'll drop different kind of quest items or different crafting items. But the useful one here is this bean soup. So if we were to use some of these filters here, we can go ahead and just sort by things that we can use. And the nice one here is the food. So this will go ahead and increase our mana and health regen. So, if we get it out of combat, we're very low on health and mana. It could take, a minute or so to recover it all. So if we go ahead and eat this food, this will last for 24 hours. And now when we are out of combat, our health and mana will regenerate faster automatically. So I think what we can do now is call it quits. So we'll just pause it there for a minute. That was 40 minutes.